Hello friends, I am Advocate Bharat Singh. Welcome to my video blog. This particular video blog I believe is going to be a very important one and can be of great help to you. Here we are going to cover various measures that you can adopt to take free legal aid and reduce litigation cost. Friends, many of us, most of us, and some of our family members or friends, they are involved in back-breaking litigation. It could be a criminal trial, a civil suit, a property dispute, or any other disputes that relate to your professional life or working life. Now you see that most of the litigation go on for years and months. This can have a significant toll on your financial health as well as mental and family life. Your near and dear ones are often the sufferers. They see that you're spending your hard-earned money in fighting court cases and there is no end to sight. As the case moves from the lower court to the higher court, the fees of the advocate increases steeply. Also, you're not sure whether the course that has been adopted is the best one for you or not, or could there have been an alternate way to achieve the goals, the objective, which is your favorable decision in your court case, as well as if further cost could have been reduced. Now in this particular video blog, we will see, though nobody can assure you that at the end of the case you will get a favorable outcome, but yes, there are few steps that you can adopt which can increase the probability of favorable outcome and also can help you reduce your litigation cost. What are these steps? Friends, a small disclaimer. Before we discuss various measures by which you can reduce your litigation cost, this particular video blog is actually meant for people who are involved in the personal cases, who are from middle income and low income group. If you are very affluent, well off, in high income group and involved in commercial cases, this video blog is not meant for you. One of the most important steps that you can take to reduce your litigation cost is to take help of free legal aid cells. Legal aid cells are primarily established in various court complexes and they can be outside court complexes as well, depending on which state, which place, which district you are in. They are established under Legal Services Authority Act. Primarily they are supposed to provide free legal aid if you fall in any of the criteria which are mentioned in section 12 of the Legal Services Authority Act. Primarily it includes scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, women and child, physically disabled, mentally disabled, victims of any violence, workmen, if you are under any custody, or primarily you are if you are before any if you are fighting any case or your litigation is going in front of any court or in quasi judicial body, including tribunals, you are entitled to take help of free legal aid cell, and you would not be, the state will bear your expenses and you would not be paying anything. Another important step that we can adopt to reduce our litigation cost is to adopt various processes that are recommended under alternate dispute resolution mechanism. Now there are Lok Adalats which have been established under Legal Services Authorities Act, mechanism of arbitration and conciliation under Arbitration and Conciliation Act, and the provision of mediation, which is as such governed by section 89 of Civil Procedure Code. I will just touch upon them very briefly so that you have a fair amount of idea. Now Lok Adalat, if the two, primarily ADR, the mechanism under alternate dispute resolution can be adopted in most of the civil suits, not all of them, but primarily in those in which there is a provision. Most of the civil suits can be covered under ADR. Now in Lok Adalat, if there are two disputing parties who have their pending trial, litigation, going in a court or otherwise, if they come to a common agreement, they can straight away go to their local district courts where on designated dates where when Lok Adalat is sitting, and they can tell their problems and also suggest that this is what they have come to agree upon. If it is in accordance with the law, the Lok Adalat puts its stamps, and that the agreement between the two parties is given a judicial it is given a judicial stamp, and yeah, that is the order that has been promulgated. Apart from that, one does not have to keep fighting or slogging in the courts for ages. There is a mechanism of arbitration. Arbitration is very interesting. Two disputing parties, they can choose odd numbers of arbitrators. Now these arbitrators are the people who will decide their matters outside the court. They will adopt normal procedure of evidence, whatever happens. They are supposed to be impartial and have to be selected by both the parties. Both the parties have to agree upon the selection of the arbitrators. And a normal trial before them would take place. They will give their decision, and that decision would be binding on both the parties based on Arbitration and Conciliation Act. There is a criteria that has been laid out that the arbitrator should meet the criteria that has been mentioned in the Act. He should not be biased, there should not be fraudulent proceedings, and he has to have certain experience, he is to belong to a certain category. So that everything is elaborated in Arbitration Act. Conciliation. Now conciliation is a process where the two disputing parties select a person on which they pose their trust on, and he intervenes, he suggests solutions on behalf of both the parties after listening both the sides, and if it is agreeable by both the parties, he passes his order, and it is straightaway executable. Mediation is also a mechanism where two disputing parties sit in front of a mediator. He facilitates their negotiation between them. When both the parties come to a settlement, the order gets authority of a court stamp, and it is implementable. So these are the mechanisms that one can adopt under alternate dispute resolution mechanism. Now we'll see what are the other ways. Suppose going to the court is unavoidable, you have to go to the courts. What one can do on his own so that his litigation costs would be reduced. One of the important aspects of reducing litigation cost is to be aware of one's right. Ignorance of law is no defense. If you don't approach the court within the time frame or the limitation period of the cause of action or loss of your right or property, there are chances that not only you will suffer litigation cost, but also that you will never be able to get or restore your right back or retrieve your property back. Awareness is the single most important factor for saving your cost. If you are aware of your rights, you save a lot of cost, you save a lot of time. So be aware of it, raise your voice when the situation demands, otherwise you will suffer the loss. Apart from that, how should you be aware of it? One of the best ways to be aware of it is to have a bare act about the law. Now, every provision of the law or any proceedings in the court take place based on some law which exists, or some procedural law, some statutory law, constitutional law. Now, having said that, how should you come to know about the law? Now, in every court complexes, there are bookstores inside the court complex and sometimes outside it, where you get something like a bare act. I'll show you what is a bare act. Now, this is a bare act. This is Arbitration and Conciliation Act. It will tell you all the laws pertaining to Arbitration and Conciliation Act. Now, there can be more surrounding laws also. You might not be aware of it, nor it is possible for everybody to know everything, but still it is good to read up. When somebody files an application, or you're going to file an application, or an advocate is filing an application, it is good to read up these things. Now, when you are aware yourself, when you're educated, you don't approach your advocate repeatedly, and it saves you a lot of cost. Litigation, it saves you a lot of counseling time, cost. It also saves time of your advocate in explaining you things, and ultimately things become better. You can have an informed discussion with your advocate and do the right thing. Sometimes you can guide him also. Sometimes you can be more aware about a particular law than your advocate also. Another important factor is read up about your case. Now, whenever you have an advocate, he is fighting for you. Now, the procedures are going on for a very long time. Every time you approach him and ask him basic questions, what is happening in my case, why not this, why not that, and you eat up his time, it is going to frustrate him. Lawyers are generally hard pressed for time. They work lengthy hours, not only for you but for others. They have to prepare for prepare applications and draft applications for tomorrow, prepare arguments. So they're generally hard pressed for time. You should not eat up their time unnecessarily. You must save their time, and you must have an informed discussions. So please maintain your case file also. There will always be a set of file which is available with the advocate. He maintains all the records and documents in it. But apart from that, you must have a case file of your own as well. It should have all the documents that have been filed in the court, which are also available in your advocate's file, and a copy of them should also be available with you. It is going to cost you a little bit more, but in the long run, it is going to save you a lot of effort. Also, tomorrow, if you want to change an advocate, you will have all the documents ready. You can always refer to a second document, to a second advocate. You can consult other people as well. Being informed, being well read, maintaining your file diligently saves a lot of running around, saves a lot of efforts in going to the court and finding out and figuring out things. It keeps your head clear, it keeps your proceedings clear. You understand your own case better when you are well organized. It saves, you will not understand, but it saves you a lot of running around and a lot of cost in consultation fees, in a lot of paperwork. Your cost is saved, time is saved, cost is saved. Another important factor is, now some of you must be acting as party in person. There are applications that are very simple, you yourself can draft. Now, and there are laws which you need to quote and refer. There are a lot of paid and free websites which offer a lot of judgments, which offer a lot of case laws. You can always refer to them. You can draft small applications, little applications yourself. That they are very helpful. Apart from that, for every court proceedings, you don't need to refer to your advocate. There's a lot of information available in e-court facilities. Most of the courts have gone online. They have a website portal where your case status can be checked, where orders can be checked, and a lot of information pertaining to your case and adversary's case is available. Also, please learn to obtain certified copies. It's a very simple procedure, a simple form. The court fees has to be filled, and you can obtain certified copies. It also helps you in maintaining your file better. So these are small things for which you don't need to go to an advocate. You can do it on your own. It will save you a lot of cost, time, running around, and yes, litigation costs definitely. Also, it is very important when you have a hearing coming, you know the scheduled date. Please take out your time and meet your advocate well in advance. Primarily because there might be a lot of drafting involved, a lot of discussion involved. You need to know what is going to happen in the next date. You need to understand the situation better. Also, since you are well read and you are reading your bare acts, you are reading your file, you are reading about the case laws, you can have an informed discussion. And if your advocate for some reason he has been busy and things have skipped his mind, it refreshes his mind. If he has to draft something, he will draft it well in time, and you can check the application that he is drafting or preparing for an arguments. And when the hearing happens, things will improve and he will perform better. So you are assisting your lawyer to help you to help him. Another important factor is, please state true facts. When you state true facts, it saves a lot of embarrassment. It also saves a lot of litigation time in countering wrong affirmations, wrong assertions, and also a lot of damages and compensation is saved if you are doing the right thing. Do the right thing and always be in a comfortable situation. It is also important that you choose the right forum. Now, for an example, there are a lot of tribunals. There is a civil court. If you have to, if you are into a property dispute, you can also go to a consumer court. If you have bought a piece of land or a house, you can also go to RERA court, and you can also go to the civil court. Now it all depends. So once you're well informed, you can, depending on your cause of action, you must choose the right forum, because it saves you a lot of cost and time. Obviously, it affects your litigation cost and the lawyer's fees, the court fees. You end up saving a lot of money by choosing the right forum depending on your dispute and cause of action. It is also important that when you are fighting it out in the court, you start gathering your evidence as early as possible and start discussing them with your advocate. Primarily because there are things that you might believe would come handy when you will give evidence, but will not have much merit. Primarily because they don't follow the evidence law procedures, or test of evidence. You might not have original copies, or you might just have secondary copies, certified copies, and there can be a lot to it. Evidence law is complex, complicated, so make sure that you discuss the evidence part with the lawyer very early with whatever you have. If there is something that you need to gather through RTI or through any other mechanism, you get hold of it as early as possible. So when the trial stage, when the evidence stage comes, you are ready with it, and you don't see more time. More time means more lawyer time means more litigation cost. That's how I associate it. Attend all your court dates. Please don't miss your court dates. You miss your court dates, your legal battle is prolonged. You end up paying more to the advocate. So if you can attend your court dates, please attend. You will be well informed. You will know what is happening. You can take informed decisions. You can have an informed discussion with your advocate. If you are an outstation person and you're fighting a case in another state, you must check with your advocate whether in your court video conferencing facilities are available or not. There is always chance you can get a favorable judgment for getting your proceedings done through video conferencing by approaching the High Court. Advocate fees plays a very important part in litigation cost. Choosing an advocate is an important aspect of litigation. Now, whenever you are approaching an advocate to take your case, it is always good to have a detailed discussions about what all action and tasks are involved in the advocate fees that he is charging. Now, there in a trial or in an appeal, there could be various stages. Filing an application, filing a petition, receiving a reply, interlocutory applications, argument on them, evidence stage, cross-examination, and so on. Now, there is always a possibility that after an interlocutory application, you or your opponent would like to go to the High Court and appeal the interlocutory application, and your trial is pending therefore. Whether these tasks are included or not included, how much he would charge for them, it is good to have a detailed discussion so that you know. You must know the trial procedure before you approach your advocate. Apart from that, you can also discuss the task-based fee structure. For example, for an application, how much he would charge; for an interlocutory application, how much he charge; drafting a petition, how much he would charge; attending a court hearing, how much he would charge, and so on. Now, it is always beneficial primarily because if you are well informed and you are quite involved in your case, with the time, you would be able to understand basic things and you would be able to take up some tasks on your own. Some drafting you would be able to do on your own. That saves a lot of money. Only the complicated and complex tasks you can leave it to the advocate to undertake, while the simple and basic tasks you can do. So task-based fee structure might look to you that it is expensive initially, but over a long run, as you gain more experience, as you're willing to involve yourself more in your case, is quite beneficial. It also motivates advocate because he knows that every time he does something for you, he will be paid for it. Now, this is the negative part about lump sum money. Most of the people believe that they would like to pay an advocate lump sum for his case, for a case. Now, it has a disadvantage because primarily there is a possibility most of the advocates are quite honest and they are very professional. However, there are always a bad apples in every field, and there are chances that once you've paid them the money, over a period of time they lose their interest and they don't respond to you the way they should, and your case suffers and you suffer. So a task-based fee structure is a good counter to this problem. Another thing is what kind of advocate and how should you choose an advocate. As I've said in the beginning, this video is primarily for middle income and low income group. It is not meant for people who are affluent, well off, for good money, or for commercial cases. Now, integrity of an advocate is the most important thing. He will be representing you in a fora in which you will not be able to say anything or speak anything. He will be representing you, and any consequences of his action have to be borne by you. So whatever he does, it is out of faith that he does it for you. He is representing you. So there must always be something about him, his past experience or his professional conduct, his reputation in the society, on which you can place faith about the integrity and honesty of the advocate. Also, his educational qualification is also a good indicator about how well learned, how knowledgeable he is, and his focus, his general focus towards his life. When you approach an advocate in his office or anywhere, not every advocate or good advocate would have an office also. There are a lot of young good advocates who don't have an office. So office is not a criteria to be judged. But whenever you approach him, a well-learned, serious advocate would always have a good library. You can see the variety of books that he has. These are silent indicators. You will not go and ask him to show me each and every book. But when you approach him, he would generally have good library. He may be well-learned. He might be a young advocate, but that's how things are. Also, you would now most of the things and courts have gone online. You would also like your advocate to be IT savvy, especially if you're an outstation client and you would like to send him documents. Your advocate should be able to email you, scan documents. He should have those kind of facilities, take photocopies, present it in the court. So these are various factors that you can consider. This, along with the task-based fee structure, helps a lot. You can also see an experience of an advocate. Generally, the more experience, the higher his fees are. So between underpaid, underrated advocate and highly experienced and expensive advocate, there's always a middle path that you need to choose, and I have described various criteria which you can use to evaluate and select an advocate. Also see his personality, how he is able to present himself, what are his speaking skills, is he good at communication when he stands at the forum or in the court, would he be able to put up all your points, how is his drafting skills. So these are important things. So your awareness and involvement can do wonders in your case. This is the key. You are your best advocate. It is you factor which can make you win or lose the case. I hope in this video blog I have covered important aspects about reducing your litigation cost, also obtaining free legal aid from the state as much as I could. The video is meant for general public. Most of the things that I've covered are my opinion. They are not in black and white, they are not laws, they are not statutes. So these are my opinion, and out of my experience, I've brought this information out as a part of social welfare measure. I hope this will help you and hold you in good stead. Satyamev Jayate, may the truth prevail, may you win your case.